guys. This is Catherine, and this is Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. So today I am giving you a comprehensive guide to raising meat rabbits. So are you looking to be more self-sufficient? Are you a new homesteader and looking to add meat to your program? Are you looking to humanely raise meat in your own backyard? If that applies to you, please give me a like below. So if you're anything like me, oftentimes you kind of put your cart before your horse. I came home with meat rabbits as our very first livestock, and I wasn't necessarily prepared. I'll show you what I picked up as far as housing, but today I'm going to go over the basics of housing, feeding, watering, and sanitation. So those are 4 key topics when you get into livestock of any sort that you need to make sure that you address, and hopefully on the front end before you even bring your animals home. So I'll show you what I initially invested in and why we chose to not use this as our primary housing. So I found these used on a local site. I paid $15 for 2 of these cages. I thought, being brand new to rabbits, that would be sufficient. I've seen people raise in wire cages. There's not anything necessarily wrong with this. It just ended up not being how I was comfortable raising our rabbits. And I wanted something a little more protected. I wanted something more secure. We do have our rabbits out where we do have predators, lots of predators. And so security was a big deal. So we had never built anything. We were brand new to the self-sufficient lifestyle. I had had a garden for many years and kept feeling moved to add meat to our program. And I'm a huge advocate for animal welfare. I want to make sure that my animals, they live like pets with a purpose. So I name them, I pet them, I love them. That's counterintuitive to animals that you're going to eat, but I felt strongly about it. So this is our first hutch that we built, and I'll show you. It's considered a 3-hole hutch. We bought all the materials brand new. We paid about $350 for all the material in order to build it. We built it ourselves. So it consists of wire bottom, and then you want to make sure that you have some sort of something for, I use scrap wood, for the rabbits to be able to get off the wire, just for their own health and well-being. You want to have some sort of a nest box. That's primarily for does before they kindle. I'm going to show you, she does have some baby rabbits in here. Raising rabbits, it's currently winter. It was single digits the other night, and the babies did just fine. So rabbits are built for winter. They get a little harder in the summer because rabbits, they've got this big, thick fur coat on them, and so they can easily overheat. I have bred for heat tolerance, but it took me years to get there. So some things to keep in mind. Rabbits in winter are much easier than rabbits in the summer, but they are a perfect homestead addition for year-round meat production. So as far as housing goes, I went with a hutch. You can use rabbit cages like this wire one that I showed you, and in fact lots of people do. My friend Nick at Hostile Hare builds some beautiful cages. I'm going to put a link for him in the description below. He is an affiliate of mine, so if you do purchase cages through that link, I do get a little bit, which helps support our homestead, and we thank you for that. But I stand behind this product because it's a beautiful product. So as far as housing, you want to make sure that they've got protection from wind and inclement weather. So they need to have a place where they can get out of the sun, get out of the wind, get out of the rain, get out of the snow. That's important. If I have blowing snow, and you can see, I've got solid sides on the back and the side. They've got wire here on the bottom, and then they've got solid wire on the front. Airflow is critical. You do not want them closed up in a box. Their urine contains high levels of ammonia, and so if they don't have free-flowing air, it's going to affect their general health and well-being. If you put them in, say, like a closed barn or shed, you want to make sure you have lots of airflow. That's important. So nest box, this is for, I in fact give all of my rabbits some sort of nest box. They are prey animals. They are low on the totem pole. They want to hide. And so you're going to hear stories, horror stories about rabbits having heart attacks, rabbits running around breaking their backs. I'm a firm believer. I'm 6 years into rabbits. I have never had a dead rabbit or an injured rabbit. And I've got coyotes that come and walk underneath my hutch. It's open. We've had snakes get into the hutches. We've really tried to secure it so that that's not possible. Sometimes stuff happens. You can't prevent all accidents, but you definitely can learn from them. So you just want to make sure that they've got someplace safe that they can go. As far as food, and you guys may or may not like to hear this, I feed pellets, just pellets. There's a lot of convenience in this. It is balanced nutrition. It is nutritionally a complete feed. When I started talking to the feed mill owner in which I purchase all of my feed and started talking about supplementing things like hay or foraging, he gave me a really weird look and he says, honey, this is a complete feed. Most feed mills put a lot of effort into their formulas, so take that for what it's worth. You can supplement with hay. They don't necessarily need it. You're going to see mixed emotions and mixed reviews on that statement. I've successfully raised rabbits for many years on pellets alone, and in fact my rabbits are healthier, their coats are thicker. I have found that when I'm trying to either reduce my feed costs, be cheap, or just kind of do it on my own, that I end up hurting the nutritional quality of my animals, and their health is what it's all about. So as far as feed goes, you can't get any simpler than pellets. It also gives you some flexibility so that, say, if you go out of town or you get sick or for whatever reason you're not the one feeding, if you've got them on a forage diet or you are growing fodder and you have to hand that responsibility off to somebody else, that's a heavy load. In fact, I tried that for several years, and I'll give you a resource on if you are looking to forage for your own rabbit's diet. I'll give you a resource here in a second. But it becomes a full-time job, and that was a little too much for me. I am a working mom, so convenience is everything. And when you take on raising your own food, it's a big project in itself. So try and make it easier for yourself if and when possible. So feeders, you've got some different options. I prefer, dog balls. That sounds crazy. This is actually, I put this in here to stage it. He's got his food and water over here. But there's also things called J feeders. Let's see if I can show you. She's got one on her door here. That's a J feeder. It's also called a hopper, depending on what source you're looking at. Both very good options. My only issue with the J feeder or the hopper is it's got a screen bottom, and if I let the feeder go dry, and I don't necessarily free feed my rabbits. Rule of thumb is 1 ounce per pound of rabbit. Rabbits will tend to get fat really fast, and that will be an issue as far as reproduction. If you have a fat rabbit, chances are good they're not going to conceive. They may abort. It's an issue, so do watch your feed. And plus, it's a lot of money. If you're pouring food into a rabbit and it's just turning into fat, that's not good for you, your pocketbook, or your rabbit. So 1 ounce per pound of rabbit. That's an easy formula to remember. As far as water goes, if you're using water bottles, throw those suckers away. I am serious. I have a serious hate for those bottles. Not only do they freeze up in the winter and it's a nightmare to keep the water flowing, not only the water bottle itself, but the spigot. The spigot will freeze up in just moments, and a rabbit that isn't eating, chances are real good it's not drinking. So water is probably the most important thing to all of us, but rabbits specifically, and they will, if you don't have enough water available for a rabbit, they can go into a condition called GI stasis, where their intestinal tract actually stops moving, and it can cause death. So things to keep in mind. Excuse me. So what I prefer, as far as water goes, is these things. I paid $2 for them. They're a 1-quart rubber crock. You can see it's frozen. And these are so easy to pop open and break up the ice and knock it out. So in the wintertime, it's not unusual for me to have ice pucks all over in front of my rabbit hutches, because I just break this out, refill it, they're good to go. It takes a while for it to freeze again. So this is by far my preferred. They do chew on them. They are rabbits. I've had these bowls for 4 years, maybe, and I've had to replace a handful of them. So, but they're inexpensive and totally worth the money. So we've covered shelter, we've covered food, we've covered water. Our next topic is sanitation. So This is my handy dandy tool. I come out here once a day when I feed and water, just do a quick brush. It knocks whatever poop is on the wire through. I have strategically located all of my hutches so that they're close to either flower beds or my garden. Rabbit poop is excellent fertilizer for your garden. It's considered cold compost, so you don't necessarily have to compost it. I do recommend composting any and all manure regardless, but you can put it directly into your garden without fear of it burning your plants. In fact, rabbits are the ultimate garden companion. So I do want to show you before I pop out of here my nest box and the baby rabbits and what you need to do to prepare for baby rabbits, specifically in the winter, but this goes for all year long. You guys see that? So she has filled it with fur. That's her fur. Mama rabbits, and in fact that's an indicator for me when I'm looking for, did my rabbit kindle, which is the term for birth. I look for chunks of fur all over the inside the cage here. You can see movement in here. So what I do is I take this. It's got a wire bottom. Can I see your nest box here, buddy? Okay. And that way waste can fall through. Oh, excuse me, dude. This is a buck here. This is my doe. I feel strongly about all rabbits having some sort of protection so that they can hide from predators. So here, what I did is I set it on the board so that way the straw doesn't fall all the way through, and I fill it with straw. And I don't necessarily build her nest for her. I will put some straw in there just kind of as a guide. She knows what she's doing, but then I put gobs and gobs and gobs of straw in the hutch with her. And rabbits, when they are about to kindle, will do a behavior called hay stashing, and it's called that because they pick up all this hay and straw, and it looks like a mustache as they do it. And then they're literally stashing it in their box. So, I'm going to show you, these guys are 5 days old. Ah, so cute! And rabbits are not motherly mothers because they're prey animals. So you're not going to find her sitting in the box, loving on her babies. They usually typically jump in twice a day, morning and evening, do their nursing, and then in nature she would be somewhere far away. And because that is a natural behavior, you want to make sure that you have some room for her to be able to roam. But what the purpose of them not sitting there with their babies all day is they don't want to lure in predators. And so they will go do their thing, finding food. They're not going to be with their nest. That is not a bad thing. A mama rabbit that is in fear, if she fears for her own life, she may kill her babies just as a defense mechanism. Oftentimes what they'll do is they'll run around and they'll end up squishing the babies. So it's not necessarily a sign of a bad mother. I know that some people will count that as a strike against the mom. In my experience, when I've had that happen, there's something weird going on out here, and it's more of a defense mechanism on her part. There are bad moms out there. Don't get me wrong. So you just need to kind of gauge. There is a 3-strike policy most rabbit breeders carry. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows at all points in animal raising. So as far as resources go, I am hoping that you've done some research before you bring any and all animals onto your property. Some books that I like. This is Story's Guide to Rabbit Raising. There is some good information in here. There is some not so good information in here. So you need to really find what works for you, because what works for me may not necessarily work for you, and what works for these guys may not work for anybody else. But collect knowledge, take it for what it's worth, take what works for you. This one is a great book. It's Backyard Meat Rabbits, and he will go into really in-depth as far as raising rabbits itself. But then there's another book that he wrote called Beyond the Pellet, and that is all about raising your rabbits on a natural diet that is not pellets. It's also fantastic resource. So if you're looking at not feeding pellets, I would highly recommend getting that book as well, because it is important. Anytime you're raising anything that you are going to consume, you want to make sure that it's nutritionally jammed packed. not only for your animal's health, but for your health, because you're going to consume that, and isn't that the whole point? So I hope this was of value to you guys. I hope that I gave you some information that can get you going in your meat rabbit adventure and self-sufficiency journey. If I did, please like and share. If you have not yet already subscribed to my channel, do so. I thank you for joining me, and I shall be putting out more information like this here, hopefully on a consistent basis this coming year. So we'll see you guys later. Take care.